Good morning, everybody from Steepleview Farm. Boy, are we ever glad to have you with us today. Outside my window, it is stinking gorgeous out there today. I'm telling you what, the temperature today is just perfect. I hope that every one of you gets a chance to be outside today. I'm sure that this Wuhan cabin fever has reached up and grabbed a bunch of you, but by golly, let's press right through and get on with gardening. What do you say? I think it's time. I really think that we're finally past all of that terrible stuff. But as we do every week, let's get started by checking the weather because, well, we know it's pretty outside right now, but if they're able to tell us anything about the future, let's see what they've got to say. I know that we have a lot of people who are in different parts of the state and all around the country that could be watching us on YouTube. But here's the weather in my little neck of the woods today. Look at that temperature, 81 degrees, mostly sunny, no rain, hooray. A little rain coming up this week, but if you look down through there, look at the percentages on that chance of rain. Not all that much, a little cooler weather by next weekend, but next weekend is Mother's Day. And we'll have a special Mother's Day show on Saturday. But looks like we're going to be in great weather. But the weather's not the only thing that helps us decide when to plant. We also here at Steepleview Farm encourage people to plant by the moon. We talked a little bit about that last week. Here's what the Farmer's Almanac says. This weekend is not a good time to plant. A barren period, favorable for killing plants, cultivating, or taking a short vacation. Well, I am sure everybody is ready for a short vacation after what's been going on. But look what's coming up next week. For the most part, all of next week, we're going to have some great moon phase for planting. So I think that we're moving in that direction. But because it says today is a great time to cultivate your soil, I thought I'd talk a little bit about that today. If you're going to use this weekend, you're going to use this great weather, you're going to get outside, and you're going to follow the moon phases and cultivate your soil. Let's talk a little bit more about how you would do that. If you look right here, this is a picture of how I recommend that you cultivate your soil. I recommend that you use a fork. Now, a lot of people that are doing this in the market gardening arena, a lot of those folks are using a broad fork. And if you're not familiar with a broad fork, imagine a fork 30 inches wide with two big handles. You have to jump up and down on it and pull on it. Why do I suggest that you use a fork for cultivating as opposed to a shovel? Very simple. A shovel, as you probably know, think about it. You take a spade, you dig it in the ground. When you turn it up, what comes over? A big clump of dirt. There's a smooth side to that dirt on the spade side of the clump. You've compressed that soil. You've sliced through it and you've turned it over. You're actually creating kind of a clod. You're destroying the soil structure As we've talked about in the past, good soil is built from the top down, which means that every year you're going to add compost and organic material to the top of your garden bed and just leave it, not disturb it, not try to mix it in, till it in. You're going to just leave it and then add to it, add to it, add to it, until through natural processes you've created the best topsoil you can find. Well, if you're going to use that process and you're going to build soil in your garden that is rich and loamy and that plants can thrive in it, can find nutrients, can find water, can find oxygen, it can't be compacted. Compacted soil is no good. That's why people till it. They run a rototiller through it, they run a plow through it, they do all these things. But in essence, they're really compacting it, kind of on a smaller scale. If you ever think about using a tiller in soil that's too wet, you end up with clods you can't get rid of all season long. So if you can use a fork, it more lightly turns the soil. Now, you don't have to turn it all the way over. You don't have to flip it bottom side up. Just use that fork to kind of aerate and loosen the soil. Just break it up just a little bit. The other thing, a spade or a shovel, great tool, but they have a tendency to cut your priceless, precious earthworms in half. I can't tell you how valuable earthworms are in garden soil. You know, if you're not familiar with what an earthworm does, an earthworm has a unique characteristic to it. First of all, it eats organic material that's in your soil, and then it excretes that. And when it does, it leaves behind what's called earthworm castings. Those castings are a form of fertilizer. They have a very low kind of nutrient value to them, but they include a lot of great microbiotics for your soil. Another thing an earthworm does is an earthworm doesn't stay in one spot. They tunnel up to the top where the organic material is and they feed, and then they go back down. And as they go up and they go down, they create porosity in your soil that allows water to reach your roots, that allows oxygen to reach into the ground, and they actually move soil as they go. If you've ever seen a crawdad hole alongside of a pond with a pile of soil outside of it, or a groundhog hole, anything that's digging in the soil is loosening the soil and moving soil. So those earthworms are actually engaged in a natural tillage. They're mixing your soil for you on a very small scale, but that's the way God intended it. So it's a wonderful process to have earthworms working your soil for you. I can make some recommendations. We just bought, 5,000, 6,000 earthworms, bought two different kinds, bought night crawlers, and we bought what are called red wigglers or redworms. Redworms are a composting worm. They will double in number every 60 days or so, 30 to 60 days. You can put earthworms in your garden, redworms, or you could put in night crawlers, and they will eat organic material out of your soil. They will add fertilization to your soil. They will turn your soil for you. They'll allow air and water to get down to the roots. They're just tremendous for your soil. So the place I get mine, and I don't get anything for this. This isn't a paid plug. I'm just telling you where I get mine. I get mine from Uncle Jim's Earthworm Farm, Uncle Jim's Worm Farm. You buy them in a bag. They come in a box. They're delivered virtually overnight. They're packed in peat moss. Thousands of worms, or maybe 70 or 80 bucks. You put those in your garden, and then they're going to multiply, and they're going to work in your garden for you. I highly recommend that as you work your garden soil, you use that fork, turn the soil lightly, just loosen it up, just let some air in there, break up the clods at the bottom. Don't use a shovel if you can avoid it. Don't use a spade. Don't cut your precious earthworms in half. And don't compact your soil. That's a huge tip for those of you who are going to use these barren days that we're talking about this weekend, the 1st through the 3rd of May. Use these barren days to kill plants and cultivate. So if you're not going to be taking that short vacation and you want to cultivate your garden soil, those are a couple of great tips for that. Also want to talk with you about fertilization. You know, folks think that you fertilize plants after they get into the soil. Well, that's fine. You should feed your plants throughout the season. But one thing I think that we might want to talk about a little bit is preparing your garden soil to receive plants. Now, if you're going to use chemical fertilizers, that is industrial fertilizers, they're going to usually be higher concentrates. That means the NPK factor, and you'll see that printed on fertilizer bags, the NPK factor. N stands for nitrogen, P stands for phosphorus, and K stands for potassium. So this is what NPK in fertilizer does. The nitrogen produces great green foliage, the phosphorus helps with strong, healthy roots, and the potassium is potash, or sometimes people in the past used garden ash. All of these are very important for the health of your plants. But when do you apply them? Chemical fertilizers, industrial fertilizers, tend to work very fast. And when they work fast, people see quick results. But there's a problem with them. They leach out of your soil very quickly. And what that means is that they're there for the short duration, and then they leach out the nutrients, but they leave something behind. And what they leave behind are salts. And those salts can tend to build up the calcium in your soil. If you're going to be using NPK fertilizers and you have the opportunity, look for the organic kind. Not only will the organic fertilizers be better for your soil biology in terms of your earthworms and the other micronutrients and the microorganisms that live in your soil, but they will also last longer. But because they last longer, they don't have an immediate impact. So if you're going to be cultivating your garden this weekend, you're going to be working your soil, you're going to be getting ready to plant in this week that's coming up, you might think about adding the nutrients now. Now, certainly the best way to know what your garden needs is to do a soil test. Clearly, that is the most reliable way of knowing what you need so you're not adding too much. You're probably not going to get a soil test done this week. You can take it to your local extension office. You can take it to your local feed store, your farm store. They can do a soil test for you, and it'll report back exactly what your soil shows and what you need, and you could add just what it needs. But every year, it's probably not a bad idea to do a little feeding before you plant. And when you do that and you're using that fork to work into the soil, now you're just very lightly turning those organic fertilizers beneath the surface and giving them a chance to get integrated with the soil, to get some moisture on them, and to begin working, because they work slower. The other thing about the NPK numbers on organic fertilizers is they tend to be low. So you're going to see fertilizers instead of 10-10-10 or triple 19 or the kind of typical fertilizers farmers and gardeners used for years they bought at the feed stores. You're going to see 266 or 255 or 355, very low numbers. That's because they're measuring the fertilizer by weight. That is, how much weight you've got, 5-pound bag, what percentage of the weight is actually going to be in the form of those elements that are going to feed your plants. We've talked about this before. It's worth mentioning. Your plants have a limited ability to take up nutrients from the soil through their roots. They need a better ability to take up nutrients through their roots. And that comes through a symbiotic relationship with what's called mycorrhizae fungi, which is a huge colony of fungus that lives in the soil, beneficial fungus. And it works in tandem with your plants. It actually lays close to the root structures, the little hair roots of your plants. And it draws nutrients from the soil, and then through a process of osmosis, transfers those nutrients into the roots of your plants. Some mycorrhizae fungi actually penetrate the roots. They actually stick themselves into the roots to more efficiently transfer nutrients. And the interesting thing is, I mean, this is just, it's a fascinating learning curve to live on a farm and study these things. And that's why I want to share them with you here. People don't realize that this creation that we live in was designed to work very well. And these mycorrhizae fungi communicate with your plants. When your plants need more nutrients, they tell the fungi, and the fungi goes out and works harder to bring nutrients in. And when the fungi needs more carbohydrates and sugars, which are being produced through the processes in the leaves of your plants. They communicate that to the plant, and the plant ramps up its sugar and carbohydrate production to feed the mycorrhizae fungi. It's an amazing process. And when you think about it, if your soil is healthy, your plants are healthy. If your plants are healthy, the fruits are healthy. And if the fruits of your plants are healthy, and that's what you're eating, then you're going to be healthier too. It's an amazing relationship. And we love to share those things with you. We'd love to have you come visit. We are social distancing here at Steepleview Farm, but visit our website, steepleviewfarm.com. Read more about what we're doing here. We're doing more than just providing produce. We love to walk through the garden with you, love to answer your questions, love having young people come, kids, children. It's a great outing for grandparents looking for something healthy and outdoors with fresh air and sunshine to do with your grandkids. And we love to have you come and learn here about these things that we believe are going to develop a closer relationship between you and the source of your food, which is, we think, a very, very good thing. We also said today, and want to let everybody know that as of today, we are welcome to all of our friends who may be watching on YouTube. Find our YouTube channel. It's simple to find. Just go to YouTube and search for Steepleview Farm. This is kind of what it looks like when you get there. So if you see that picture of my lovely bride and her husband standing there, then you've come to the right place. And if you get to our YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button. There's a little bell. I don't know if those of you who use YouTube know, but there's a little bell. That little bell will give you notifications when new content posts. So in addition to streaming live, we have a lot of videos we put up over the years. You can go back and look at my dark hair and thin face and my rudimentary understanding of video cameras and editing. You might learn a thing or two, but maybe it's just for the entertainment factor. You might get a good laugh out of seeing some of it. But we've been doing that for a long time. So if you go to our YouTube channel, that'll be another place for you to find the show recorded, I think. And the other advantage of YouTube is, instead of sitting and looking at it on your phone or sitting and looking at it on your computer, you have the opportunity to look at it on your smart TV, where it's maybe a better viewing experience if those of you who are homebound through this Wuhan flu period of time have started using your TV for entertainment. Maybe YouTube is a place where you can go and watch what we're doing here at Steepleview Farm. We still invite you to come visit. Love to have you come see us. And, we're open for business, but we might wave at you from 6 feet away. We'll walk through the garden with you from 6 feet away, but we'd love to have you come visit. Hope to see you here. God bless. See you next Saturday. Bye-bye.